But,
bus lane.
right, I took
But we
this
just-
bus stop, but, this is, parking some.
I got you. How you doing? Hello, how you doing?
Stuff from the right. How you doing?
How you doing?
Feels amazing. How you doing?
Thank you for coming. Damien's feeling himself with that jacket today. City, yeah? What city for? They renamed it?
Those are for housing, no? I think it's to have housing more rapidly.
Talked about lower AMI. I was thinking, I'm like, I guess. That's the city council. That how many parties?
Birthday game.
What?
When's your birthday?
Good evening, everyone. We are waiting for a few more folks to make quorum. And hopefully, we're gonna give it another couple of minutes. Thanks for your patience. Remember this? This was before they started talking about City of Yes housing. This was the council's version of it, and then City of Yes was announced. Yeah. We voted on this already. We voted on this already to support it. City for all, yeah. Antoinette sent a resolution. This was last year. Yeah, Edward Stern had talked about it. That the council asked us to support.
But I missed the one.
This might have been the one meeting we were here for.
So we put those, right? Those are the ones that you want. Yeah. Right.
English or whatever language you needed. I always think about it.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:35 p.m. We are 2 members short from quorum. We're going to start with some routine items and items that do require a vote. I do want to welcome members of the 72nd Precinct. Thank you so much for coming. I don't know if you wanted to share a few words or anything, but please feel free. Just ask to use the microphone. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Ahmad Othman. I am the Operations Coordinator, also known as the Administrative Lieutenant in the 72nd Precinct. I'm sorry? Closer, yes, ma'am. I'm here on behalf of Deputy Inspector Suarez, Captain Turner, and Captain Huey. Good to be here. Good evening. My first time here. A few familiar faces. I just wanted to start with, maybe the crime in the 72nd Precinct, down approximately 22% for the 28-day period, down for the year to date, which is always good news, always more room for improvement. I just wanted to, we had an unfortunate accident last week, which I'm sure you all are well aware of, on 60 Street between 4th and 5th Avenue. Unfortunately, a young male Hispanic, 30 years old, was hit by a truck who was intoxicated, and he was DOA on the scene. He was intoxicated, fell over, and I'm not sure if anyone seen any footage from the media or if they blurred it out or whatever the case was, but it was unfortunate. We always have a quality of life enforcement at the location of between 6-0 to even 4-5, anywhere in the vicinity. It was just an unfortunate accident. We did do a 72-hour plan, which we have quality of hazardous summonses at the location, maybe a little over 29. What do you call it, with the zero tolerance of, cell phone seatbelts? Definitely zero tolerance with that. We had a few good incidents for the period as well. We had auxiliaries, which I am a big fan of the auxiliary program in the 72nd Precinct. We have auxiliary coordinator who I believe is the best in Brooklyn South. His team actually found a 5-year-old girl in Sunset Park, who in return brought her back to the command and reunited the family via intranet. That's the way it was done. We also had another missing who was missing for about 2 months from Connecticut, who was also found in Sunset Park, which we reunited the family as well. Thank you. Not sure if anyone has any questions for me, but I'll be here for maybe the next hour or the remainder. I'm in no rush to leave.
Yeah, I do have a question. I'm looking over this week's ComStat report, and I noticed for parking summonses for bus stop, there have been 0 in the last week. Just wondering if that can be enforcement for bus stops, crosswalks and bicycle lanes can be.
Absolutely. So good news, and Deputy Inspector Suarez did assign a traffic officer just for parking summonses, handicap, double park. We know how rough it may be on 5th Avenue and 4th Avenue. It's especially from good old 4th Avenue, going from 3 lanes to 2 lanes. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I grew up in the neighborhood. I know how it was. But that is the good news. Officer Tyler's one who just got the spot maybe a few days ago. So hopefully the next time around, we'll have better numbers on your sheet there.
Thank you. And we'll take one question from Jerry, who's going to come for the microphone.
There's similar questions, but it's geared to 8th Avenue, 8th Avenue between maybe 56 to 60th First Street. There's a lot of double park cars. There's a lot of illegal quality of life, a lot of illegal vendors. Nighttime, people are buying food. They double park in the car. People are parking on this, on the corner where there's supposed to be no parking. Are we planning to do more enforcement in those areas?
Of course, matter of fact, we have an operation this Friday with the NCO sergeant and some NCO officers who are going to be on 8th Avenue. So Officer Tyler Swan, who's now in the traffic team, along with another 4 officers, will hopefully be heavy into 8th Avenue and 5th Avenue. You know, during the summer, it was a little tough. We were fortunate also to get another 7 FTU officers assigned to the command, and then the ones that were assigned to, I'm pretty sure everyone knows that the new impact officers, they go over to 6-7 where they're much needed for the summer. But we're very lucky and fortunate to get them back. When returned, now we do have more personnel in the command.
Thank you. So we have achieved quorum, so we will, yes, exactly. Not at 7 o'clock today, or, yeah. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. Thank you. And Jeremy will do the roll call.
Okay, I'm going to call the roll. When I call your name, please acknowledge. If you're joining us on Zoom, please make sure to unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. Just as a reminder, if you're joining us on Zoom, your attendance counts, but you don't count towards quorum. Let's start with Diana Aguilar. Thank you. Griselle Amador. Thank you. Damian Andrade. Thank you. Jalia Bailey. Joan Body. Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Jerry Chan. Thank you. Esteban Chavez. Thank you. Richard Codor. Thank you. John DeLuper. Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio.
Here.
Thank you. B, you do not count towards quorum. Gabino Morales Escamilla. Cynthia Felix.
Present.
Thank you. Cynthia, you do not count towards quorum. Jamie Freed. Thank you. Ken Fung. Thank you. Diana Gonzalez. Hector Gonzalez. Kenny Guan. Thank you. Moshe Hecht.
Present.
Thank you. Moshe, you do not count towards quorum. Nicole Huang. Thank you. Nicholas Jackson. Thank you. Dan Kaminsky. Jeremy Kaplan. Thank you. Aaron Keith. Thank you. Wyco. Barbara Lee. Christina Lem. Thank you. Angie Lau. Thank you. Paul Mack.
I'm here.
Thank you. Paul, you do not count towards quorum. Antoinette Martinez. Thank you. Jonathan Martinez. Thank you. Marilyn Melman. Rosie Moda. Thank you. Jamie Nelson. Thank you. Julio Pena III.
Present.
Thank you. Carmen Rivas. Karen Rolnick. Thank you. Joanna Romero.
Present.
Thank you. Joanna, you do not count towards quorum. Nicole Ruiz.
Present.
Thank you. Nicole, you do not count towards quorum. Patricia Ruiz. Damaris Santiago.
Present.
Thank you. Damaris, you do not count towards quorum. Sam Sierra. Thank you. Kalina Sorma.
Present.
Thank you. Kalina, you do not count towards quorum. Faye Walker. Thank you. Catherine Walsh. Thank you. Cesar Zuniga.
Present.
Thank you. Cesar, you do not count towards quorum. (26) in the room, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. So moving on, welcome everyone to the, I was about to say November General Board Meeting. My name is Julio Pena III. I am the chairperson. Moving on to adoption of the agenda. Before we do so, I'd like to make one correction. for the dining out application under the Transportation Committee. It is American cheese that we will be voting on, not Good Taste 88 Inc. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Motion by Damian, seconded by Sam. Any objection to adoption of the agenda as amended? Seeing or hearing none, the agenda is adopted. Moving on to adoption of the minutes of the October 9th, 2024 board meeting is motioned by Karen, seconded by Damian. Is there any objection to adopting the minutes as presented? Seeing or hearing none, the minutes are so approved. Moving on to public comment. This is for any member of the public who wishes to comment on an item on the agenda. Is there a member of the public who wishes to speak on an item on the agenda? Come up. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Adam. I've lived in Sunset Park for basically all my life, and one thing that greatly saddens me about this neighborhood is that our main transportation hub, the 36th Street train station, still does not have an accessible elevator for folks who would benefit from that. I know that that is something that has been in the works for some time, and I just hope that we finally get a chance to progress on the project and get it closer to being realized. There's a lot of folks in this community who would really, really benefit from that. And we have seen in every other instance where a neighborhood has committed the funds that it has had a long-term positive impact in the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we have another hand up from someone joining us virtually.
Jessica Blue, you could unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. You have
Sorry.
3 minutes to speak.
Okay. I am speaking on behalf of the 21st Street Block Association. I've been a resident of the 21st Street for 20 years, and there was a change to our intersection in 2021, and which has made it very unsafe for pedestrians. We are surrounded by about 8 schools, and there's been a lot of close calls. There was an island that was placed to create a bikeway, and it is causing traffic to be a lot closer to pedestrians. Cars are not slowing down and are not recognizing that it is a pedestrian crosswalk, and we just would like some support. Really appreciate Community Board 7 hearing our thoughts about this, and really hoping that we can create some solutions moving forward. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no additional, oh, come on up, sir.
Hello, thank you. My name is Noah. I live in Windsor Terrace. I just wanted to speak in support of the daylighting of intersections program. I think it's really valuable, and I know as a pedestrian and a biker, it makes me feel safer when I approach an intersection, that I can see what's coming from either side and they can see me. Particularly where I live, there's a lot of Amazon trucks that come through and they don't always slow down or stop. So I just wanted to express support for that effort. And I also support the Adirondack outside proposal for dining in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment? Sure.
Hi, everyone. My name is Antoinette Martinez. And I just wanted to mention that I feel the Economic and Waterfront Committee, if that's still the name, it might have changed, if they can please have a meeting. Just found out that the Made in New York campus at Bush Terminal Park was awarded an additional $98 million. So it would be great if they could come and talk more about that. I know that we've had conversations with them in the past, but things keep coming up and the communication has not really been consistent. I'm not sure if the chair is here tonight, but really, and as a member of the committee, would really like to regroup and learn more about how they're going to be using those funds. Thank you.
Seeing no additional public comment, moving on to elected officials report. I have Anthony Gay, Community Affairs for Senator Myrie.
Anthony, you could unmute yourself now. Anthony Gay, you can unmute yourself. Anthony, I see you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you.
Okay, we're gonna come back to
We'll come back to you.
Edward Cerna from Councilmember Avilas's office.
Edward, you can unmute yourself now.
Hey everyone, Edward Cerna, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Alexa Aviles. I apologize that I can't be there in person today, but I'll be brief. On November 18, as many of you know, the city was elevated insofar as its city drought watch, and we're now upgraded to level 2 on a 3-level degree schedule, and what it's called is a drought warning. As a result of that, grilling is banned in parks, and DEP is really sounding the alarm about folks conserving water. One of the perks of this job is that I was able to tour some of this infrastructure and technology that goes into maintaining the city's water supply, and it's really impressive. And talented folks at DP do a really good job of maintaining the city's water supply. So if they're sounding the alarm, like it's not just to instill panic, like it's a very real thing, and we see fires spreading all over the city. It's affecting our air quality. So the council office just wants to echo that message that's coming out of DEP, that folks should be conserving water, because if this lack of rain continues, we can be upgraded to level 3 where actual restrictions will be implemented. So again, just want to echo that folks should run their dishwashers only when it's full, or like not have the tap running when they're washing their dishes. So secondly, the City of Yes housing opportunity, this board has voted on it. It has come before the council. That's where it is at in its review process. And the council had 2 hearings on it. The council is currently reviewing that testimony and actively discussing the many provisions in the proposals. And so while I don't have a more substantive readout right now, at some juncture, it will be up for a vote and we'll be back to report on like the end product. Lastly, just 2 quick points. Today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, and just want to echo that the council reaffirms its commitment to supporting our transgender community today and always, and that folks, take a pause out of their day to, honor the lives of, some of our New Yorkers who were lost to hate. Lastly, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope it's a short meeting. And as always, we're at 4417 4th Avenue, here to help out with any city issue you may have in District 38. Thank you all, and have a great night.
Thank you, Edward. Mia Perez from Councilmember Hanif's office.
Mia, you could unmute yourself now.
Hi, everyone. Mia Perez from Councilmember Sean Hanif's office. Just wanted to echo what Ed shared around the drought warning. The council member encourages constituents to take steps to conserve water. The recent 2-alarm brush fire in Prospect Park was a reminder that the climate crisis is here, and we're doing everything we can to ensure we're supporting legislation and advocacy to invest in our parks and take action to address the climate crisis. So just wanted to echo that. A quick legislative update. The City Council passed the FAIR Act, which will eliminate forced broker fees in New York City. This was one of the top legislative priorities of the Progressive Caucus, and the council member is a co-chair of the PC. So we were really thrilled to see it cross the finish line as a really important piece of legislation to address the affordability crisis and tenant protections. I also wanted to share, I heard some feedback during the public comment period around street safety. Our office is laser focused on the issue around street safety at 21st and 6th Ave. I know CB7 raised this issue to our office and shared a petition around the need for additional improvements at that intersection. The council member has made sure that petition is elevated to DOT. My colleague Sabine Aronowski is point on this, and I know her and the council member have been meeting with the DOT to actively work on this issue and advocate for increased safety at this intersection. So we will definitely keep folks updated on some key next steps and what we're hearing from DOT there, but just wanted to share that with folks. And then I know someone else mentioned daylighting. This has also been a really big priority of our office, and we've worked to survey and collect intersections that we're hearing from constituents are a priority in terms of daylighting. So just want to encourage folks to continue to share those with us so that we can pass them on to DOT. And I'll be sure to share my contact and our office's contact info in the chat so that you all can pass those on. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mia. Francesca Lando from Senator Gennardis' office.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Francesca. As some of you already know, I'm going to start off with the fun things. We are collecting cards for seniors for the holidays. If you have any kids or artists in your life who would like to drop off a card, we're going to be dispersing them to our local senior centers throughout Senate District 26. And then the Senate is also doing a little, what are you thankful for? Open-ended art project for all ages, but of course we have our kids in mind. So please have them reach out to our office. If anybody wants to submit something, you're more than welcome. I left the flyers outside for due dates. Somewhat out of district, but wanted to plug anyway. Chips on 4th Avenue are collecting donations, mostly like scarves and hats and socks for the winter, and they're going to be giving them out with their Thanksgiving distributions next week. So if you have anything and you're able to stop by Gowanus, please consider them as well. Oh, we have our last NILAG van. It'll be outside of Mixteca on December 6th from 10 to 3. Yeah, from 10 to 3. If you have already made an appointment with us, great. We look forward to you seeing them and getting some assistance. If you haven't made an appointment, I have one slot available at 10 or 10:45. Please call our office. We'll get you a slot. They are taking walk-ins as well. So if like the last second you're passing by, you see them, go over, say hi. Your questions will be answered. For the less fun part, I just want to echo what everybody said about the droughts. FDNY respond to a record 229. If I think I have that number right. It's over 200 fires from October 29th to last week. That is insane. New York has never seen that before. And we really need to encourage our neighbors and talk to our friends and family members and our loved ones about conserving water and the importance of conserving water, and also the importance of fire safety. Don't burn anything. Burn bans are in effect in the entire state, even though we are in a higher category down here. If you go upstate, there's still a burn ban in effect. Please be very careful with fire, with a cigarette, you name it. Climate change is really real. On the vein of climate change, we're really happy that congestion pricing is going forward. Yes, exactly. We need that for a ton of reasons, mostly for like MTA infrastructure, but also for really important ADA upgrades so that we can get elevators in stations like 36th Street. That is still a top priority for Senator Gennardis, and we're looking out for it. Sorry, I like ran here. 2nd Avenue, we're getting new trees in the spring. They're planting them in the spring, not December. And we're finally going to get the trees that we've been asking for. So for everybody who likes to talk to me about those, we're getting our trees. And I will keep everybody posted as we get closer to planting season, but I'm looking forward to those trees having a long, long life, longer than mine, hopefully. The last thing I want to do is a little legislative addition. The senator announced that we are proposing a healthy birth grant. Basically, what it'll be doing is it'll be giving impoverished mothers $1,800 as a one-time grant. This would be funded through Medicaid. And it's basically to help lift people out of poverty and give them a little bit of a boost because it's really expensive to have a kid. And we could always get all the help that we can get. If you want more information, when I'm not out of breath, please come talk to us or call us, and we're happy to talk more about it. And oh, Citizens Committee of New York is doing micro grants for small businesses. If you want help getting connected with them, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Alicia Ray Miller from Borough President Reynoso's office. Mhm.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see your faces again. I missed the last meeting and I'm very sorry about that, but it's great to be here again. So a few quick updates and just to echo everything that all the electeds ahead of me have been saying about the drought, that it's Trans Day of Remembrance, and right now we're honoring and mourning all the lives that have passed before this day. And also recently, it was Veterans Day, so thank you for any veterans here with us tonight in our community and throughout the borough. And finally, just wanted to wish that I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving coming ahead if you are celebrating, and great time with family. Now on to business. So tomorrow we're hosting at Borough Hall an event with MTA on the capital plan for 2025 to 2029. So big, a lot of years, a lot of things in stake there. So there will be open hours from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And again, that's at Brooklyn Borough Hall. So right in downtown Brooklyn, easy to get to. And there you'll hear from MTA leadership about how the plan will impact Brooklyn. There'll be chances to go and speak to MTA experts about the plan, fare discount programs, and career and business opportunities there. So spread the word and maybe see you there. And then let's see. Okay, so we also, this Friday, Brooklyn Borough Hall will also be hosting, I believe, 50,000 pounds of food and distributing that out to nonprofits throughout the borough. So not directly to people, but to the nonprofits who will get it most to the people in need. There'll be turkeys, fresh produce, and we're really excited to be able to be a part of that opportunity. There'll be toy drives, of course, coming up in the upcoming days. So that is really exciting as well. And then should you want to join, there'll be a large Christmas tree lighting in Albee Square. There'll be live music, sweet holiday treats, an ugly sweater contest, and a countdown to light up the plaza. So that is November 26th, should you want to be there. And then the last thing, so we wrapped up recently, I believe the end of last month was October. We had a deed theft prevention workshop that was at Medgar Evers College. So mostly to folks who were in Flatbush, in Crown Heights, and Bed-Stuy, and making sure that Brooklyn homeowners have all the resources that they need to go and prevent their deed and their home from being stolen. So we were really grateful to be able to work on such a important and hard impacting issue and making sure that people are well resourced just to protect themselves and their loved ones. And that is all for me tonight. And please feel free to stop me. I'll be here after the meeting if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Myra Molina from Congressmember Dan Goldman's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Myra Molina here from Merck Goldman's office. I have a few updates. I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving for everyone celebrating, and I hope that you guys will be celebrating with your families, or with friends, or with any loved ones. I have a few district updates. Last month, our office held a small business workshop event with community partners to provide resources to Sunset Park small businesses. We also had a passport event in Red Hook. I know it's out of Community Board 7th District, but We had a few turnout. However, we hope to have this event once again so that more people can get access to passport agency and can get their passport for future travels. Regarding more district updates, a Congress member has secured extension for reimbursement of victims of SNAP fraud, which means that he had, following a bipartisan letter to the congressional leadership, the Congress member has secured an extension of critical protections to victims of SNAP theft, and also in August he had joined Congress member another Congress member to send a bipartisan letter to congressional leadership, urging them to include a provision of forthcoming stopgap funding bill that would allow victims to continue to get reimbursed for federal funds. Another regarding legislative updates, the Congress member has called on House of Representatives to uphold the oath of office and reaffirm for support of the 22nd Amendment. What does this mean? It's a resolution that would reaffirm the House of Reps support for the 22nd Amendment explicit prohibition on presidents who have served 2 full terms from running for the presidency again, and condemn President-elect Donald Trump's frequent statements suggesting serving for a 3rd term. We have also been getting a lot of calls regarding the Congress members' votes on 9495, saying no, and we've been continuously getting them. Our office is here to answer any concerns, and we're located in Park Slope, 348 9th Street, so feel free to talk to me after the meeting so I can give you more information. Thank you.
Myra, going back to Anthony Gay from Senator Myrie's office.
Anthony, let's try this again. See if you can unmute. Nope, we don't seem to be able to hear you. Can I make his announcement?
Sure.
So Senator Myrie's office is having a Thanksgiving Harvest Fest this Saturday, November 23rd, between 1 and 4 p.m. You could reach out to their office at 718-284-4700, or you could reach Anthony at gay, that's G-A-Y, at nysenate.gov. So gay at nysenate.gov. And they're also working on deed theft issue and working closely with the Attorney General's office.
Thank you, Jeremy. Moving on to committee reports. First up, transportation, followed by education, health, and human services.
We have a lot of agenda items, so we are sorry, and we have cookies. So that is how I wanted to open. The October meeting was early, and so then the transportation meeting happened after that. So you're getting 2 transportation meetings worth of agenda items. And the Transportation Committee, we passed a lot of resolutions. So that is what is happening tonight. We thought we would start out with the dining out presentation, which is 3, which will go pretty quick, that John will do, and then I will jump in after that. So, okay.
All right, so dining out, old news, but it's always helpful to recap. You all know that this program grew out of the pandemic. It was an effort to help businesses that were shutting down due to COVID. The city council reformed the program in order to address concerns about the use of public land, poor maintenance of some of the spaces, abandoned dining sheds, et cetera. During that process, board members have expressed concerns about the program, both as it previously existed and the way that it changed. As a transportation committee, we have asked the Department of Transportation for info sessions just for us, which they've never done. They did, however, do borough-wide ones, which I know several of you have attended. Under the current rules, there are two types of facilities, and you're going to see both in these presentations today. There's roadway cafes, which are the ones in the parking space in front of the building, and sidewalk cafes, which are on the sidewalk alongside of them. Each type has to submit an application under the new program, whether they had an existing shed or not, an existing shed or an existing sidewalk cafe. They both have to put it in. Important to note that roadway cafes can only be up until November 29th, and they all have to come down, whereas sidewalk cafes can be year-round. The roadways operate only from April to November. Finally, I know in previous meetings, people have come to us with concerns about some of the equity issues surrounding this. This has also been expressed to the DOT, and these things are being expressed citywide. At the meeting, for instance, it was mentioned that there was an article in the Bronx Times about how that borough has seen such a huge drop due to concerns from businesses about the costs and bureaucracy surrounding this new program. So that said, with all that context, we did get 3 dining out applications during this process. We got the one I'll start with is Double Windsor of 210 Prospect Park West. In the attachment from the board or that was sent out, each page has a little label for which page number. This is on page 17. The applicant came to the committee to present their application for a sidewalk cafe. They discussed how they're adhering to the required sidewalk clearances to allow people to walk by. They discussed some of the issues about how the new program will require them to amend their liquor license to note the outdoor dining component, and the committee voted unanimously to approve that. Since it came out of committee, there's no need for a second. And should I call the vote now, or should we wait till we do all 3?
They're separate. So we have to vote on them separately. Yeah.
So with that, then I present the application for dining out for Double Windsor of 210 Prospect Park West, which the committee had voted unanimously to recommend. Any discussion?
What John said. Any discussion on approving the dining out application for Double Windsor? Seeing none. Is there any objection to approving the dining out application for Double Windsor at 210 Prospect Park West? Is there any objection to approving the dining out application for 210 Prospect Park West? Seeing or hearing none, it is so approved.
All right, excellent. So the next dining out application was for American Cheese of 444 7th Avenue. That is on page 29 of the packet. American Cheese appeared before the committee to discuss their application for a roadway cafe. They too plan to close at midnight, which they noted is actually required for all dining out applications. And they plan to store and lock their tables in a side area of the restaurant, not in the outdoor dining roadway cafe. As per the new rules, they will use transparent water-filled barriers instead of their current wooden structure. The committee discussed this cafe and its application and voted unanimously to support it. So now I bring that to you and ask if there's any discussion.
Any discussion on the dining out application for American Cheese at 447 7th Avenue? I see a hand up. Is that Damaris, is that a hand up for the dining out application?
Yes, it is. Thank you. For that location, I was just wondering if the committee has driven by there or walked by there to see that location, how filthy it is.
Did you say filthy?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't hear her.
the garbage is right outside the little thing, and it's just, I mean, it's always been very, very filthy.
You're talking about the one by the Nighthawk, I think is near where it's located, if I'm remembering right. 15th and 7th, sorry. That's the location?
773 52nd Street?
No, that's not this location.
Oh, okay. I was just checking. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're referring to another application which did not end up coming before the committee.
Any other discussion on American cheese? I'm not gonna not laugh whenever I say that, at 444 7th Avenue. Seeing none, is there any objection to adopting American cheese dining out application at 444 7th Avenue? Seeing or hearing none, so adopted.
All right, so that gets us through the ones from the October meeting. At our November meeting last week, we had another one, which was from the Adirondack at 1241 Prospect Avenue. This was an application for a sidewalk cafe, not a roadway cafe. This applicant has operated their sidewalk cafe since 2013, but are required to apply due to the new regulations. Their plans showed that it did not affect clearances to nearby sidewalks or subway stations, which was something that the committee had asked about. As with the others, we passed it unanimously, and we are recommending approval of the sidewalk cafe.
Any discussion on the approval of the dining out application for the Adirondack at 1241 Prospect Avenue? Seeing none, is there any objection to approving the dining out application for the Adirondack at 1241 Prospect Avenue? Seeing or hearing none, it is so approved.
Thank you all. Yeah, I can provide, you want me to? Sure. The other thing that came up during our meetings was something that does not require a vote, was the MTA's elevator project. I know that that was mentioned during the public comment. The MTA is planning on building a elevator at 36th Street, and they provided updates for us on that. Interesting to note, in comparison to other subway stations, they're doing the design a little bit differently. They're putting elevators on the other side of the bike lane with stairs on them. So they provided some details on the plan. We also have their full presentation attached in the packet, so you can view that. But that was very exciting news, and a lot of people were very excited about that. So I don't know if we need any discussion on that, but I will turn it then back to Katie for anything else.
Thanks, John.
We'll trade off again. We're just taking turns to keep you guys alert. Okay, so the next one, the next resolution, which happened in the October meeting, was we had a presentation from several high school students who came to talk about accessibility for them, affordability and accessibility specific to City Bike and having City Bike memberships. So we heard from several young people who came into this presentation and they had I just want to make sure that I have the resolution right, that's here in the meeting minutes, that we are moving to the full board. But in essence, what the request was, this is part of a larger campaign where the high school students are going, the young adults, students are going to different community boards and looking for support to pass a $5 membership. So not like $5 off, but actual like a $5 City Bike membership. And that this resolution, so $5 City Bike memberships for students, and that it should be, this discount should be available to all students currently covered by the free MetroCard program. So that was the resolution that that passed, and it was seconded by Sam, and then we passed it by unanimous consent. So we wanted to bring that to the full board. And I guess at this point, doesn't need a second, so I would just open it up for discussion if there are any questions on it. And I see a hand in the back, Jeremy.
Just to clarify.
Oh, okay.
The resolution is to support the $5 City Bike membership for students, for all New York City public school students. And with
It was to all students covered by the city's free MetroCard program,
There
because
you
that's a
go.
little more broad than
there
just the
you
public
go.
school students.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And
Thank
with
you
that,
for the back.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I think that program is great. Is the one question is the funding, is that actually the $5? Will that be taking away from the funding for the free Metro cards too? Or is there going to be expansion of funding to accommodate that as well?
These students, I don't think proposed how it would be funded or financed. I think they were just here to campaign on the, like, this is a problem that should be solved. And how do we make it more affordable? So they didn't get into the sort of how it would work, how it would be financed.
Add that the students did mention some of their efforts in trying to locate funding, like they mentioned that they'd spoken to the mayor's office to seek allocations and stuff, but they're not at that stage where they can say this is the line item it's coming from. But they thought of that as well.
But the good thing is it wouldn't be coming out of the MTA cards. So it wouldn't be like we'd be losing MTA cards in place of the city bike memberships.
Get to that level. I think it was very like high level at that point. Yeah. Did you have an internet question?
Can you just clarify $5 a month, a year? Is it $5 and you're enrolled in the program?
$5 a month, because right now the program ends up costing $220 a year. So they figured that this would bring that cost down to 70 and really help a lot of students.
Other questions? Okay, so this passed in the committee by unanimous consent, but can we move, or that's your job, Julio, sorry.
That's fine. Is there any additional discussion on the proposal to support $5 city bike membership for students? Oh, okay. Jerry?
Thank
Jerry,
you.
you can.
I thought that part of the proposal is for them to also consider adding a veteran as a $5 too.
Discussed that, but we didn't end up including it in the final resolution. The students were very adamant to us that they do not control which discounts the MTA offers, and that they told us they supported that. They thought it was great, but their ask right now is only for the $5 for students.
Right. Okay. Thank you. There was a lot of meeting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Since it's covering all New York City, so it's not covering all New York City public, like all city kids, it's only covering kids who have Metro cards at the moment. So like if a kid does not have a Metro card, would they not be entitled to the program as well?
My understanding was that the original car program, and you can see the sample language in the packet, was that it was their original ask was for us to was for the program to only cover students at New York City public schools and CUNY, and that we actually asked for it to be expanded because there are a lot of students at charter schools, private schools, parochial schools who are covered by the MetroCard program, and we thought that it would actually, as a committee, the discussion was that this might make it more expansive and encourage more use and help a wide variety of people. And we thought that there's students including in our district who might be able to benefit from that. So that's why I was the one who pushed to expand it. So I thought that.
Is there any objection to supporting the resolution for $5 city bike memberships for students? Nicole, is that an objection or question? Nicole Ruiz?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm at the pharmacy. Sorry, it sounds like a club.
No, that's fine. Your hand was up just when we were voting on, I was asking for unanimous consent. I just wanted to make sure that your hand was not an objection. Okay. I'm going to assume that's not an objection. So therefore, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Next resolution is on daylighting. We do have, maybe Jeremy, I can ask you for, Jeremy Kaplan, I can ask you for help. Do you mind? I have a couple of these. These are just flyers if anybody wanted them. But daylighting has already been talked about earlier in the meeting by some of the elected officials, but it's the corners to allow you to see what's coming. So that could be if you are a driver, that could be if you're a pedestrian, that could be if you're on a motorized vehicle. And so again, we have just a cup, so you could share with your neighbor. We have a couple of these. And so I'll get to it in a second, but there was a resolution that came to us to recommit, commit and recommit the need for daylighting in our district and Community Board 7. I do just want to say, because you walk around on 4th Avenue, you'll see it. There is some daylighting, but that's it. It's not actually fully daylit. What's supposed to be there is physical pavement, and it's not supposed to have just those little plastic bollards that everybody drives over in parks and gets destroyed and people trip on. DOT said that those are temporary, so we're meant to actually have hardened infrastructure to allow for that feeling of safety and to allow for that feeling of visibility. So just to be really clear, that when we're talking about this resolution, it's with the like full design in mind, not just this like temporary thing that a lot of us have experienced. Other communities do have daylight intersections with hard infrastructure or more physical things, which is something obviously we've all been pushing for. So this resolution was introduced by a transportation committee member. And so, of course, there's an opportunity for more discussion when that comes up. But I did just want to say is that this is a resolution that was passed. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. A resolution that was passed to support daylighting throughout Community Board 7, in particular areas that we know are highly trafficked and like vulnerable locations. So you can think of accessibility with senior centers, schools, and other, again, highly vulnerable areas. So the motion was seconded and passed by unanimous consent. So again, this is reaffirming these safety needs in our community. So do you want to?
So this came out of committee. It's open up to discussion. I actually have a clarifying question. Katie,
Okay.
is the presentation and what we're voting on, is it universal daylighting or is it daylighting at specific intersections?
It's universal daylighting. I think we just said that we want to, if it passes and we send it through to DOT, we want to highlight a couple of these like particularly vulnerable locations.
Okay.
Which we've been doing, but again, this is just like another means for this community board to be on the record about things that we want to see in our community.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion to support universal daylighting? Sure. I can also, so universal daylighting, it is, so at specific intersections, and let's use the front here on 43rd Street as an example. It blocks out, I believe, 10 feet of the sidewalk so that there's 10 feet distance between where a car parks and the edge of the sidewalk, so that if you're crossing the street or across, thank you, the crosswalk, or if you're driving a car, you have greater visibility of a car coming, a passenger coming, a pedestrian coming, a cyclist. So the reason why they call it daylighting is that it creates more visibility for either a car, pedestrian, or bicyclist as you approach the intersection. So yeah, so it, so for those joining virtually who cannot hear Jeremy, an example of daylighting is on 4th Avenue. If you're a vehicle making a right turn, you have to make a wider turn, and that's because the 10 to 15 feet of the street of the parking area is cut off so that there's greater visibility for pedestrians and greater visibility for bicyclists as they're passing by.
And we do have, Jamie is on the community board and in the committee, he introduced it. can he talk for the discussion portion, right? Anyone can.
Sure, if he wants, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then we have Barbara Lee.
I think I could provide a little bit of helpful context here. I don't know if the drivers among us have had the experience where like a pedestrian jumps out from behind a parked car, and you have to like slam on the brakes and your heart leaps in your throat. The point of this resolution is to prevent that by creating sightlines at intersections where pedestrians cross so that drivers don't have to experience that level of unsafety. And it also protects the pedestrians too. It's a rare example of something that like the driving contingent wants, the cyclists and the pedestrians also want, which is why the Transportation Committee approved it unanimously. And sure enough, New York State has a law that mandates this at every single intersection in the state. But right now there's an exception to that state law carved out for the city. And this resolution essentially is asking the city to remove that exception and adhere to state law. The city already has a law that 100 intersections have to be daylit per year. But at 50,000 intersections in the city, that would take about 500 years. So the Adams administration had promised to daylight 1,000 intersections per year, and then got about 300 done, only 45 of those in Brooklyn. It's a big, I mean, you could see why the city, the state, the Adams administration, the Transportation Committee all want this, because it's like, I mean, 68% of traffic injuries happen at the intersection, especially like the really vulnerable road users like children and elderly folks. And, you know, in our district in the last year, there was more than 800 crashes, with a lot of injuries, predominantly injuries to motorists, as well as more than 100 injuries to pedestrians and cyclists. So it's, you know, it's an issue that strikes close to home. We heard earlier tonight about just how tragic it can be when the streets aren't safe. It's not just our issue though, like citywide, 18 community boards have approved this resolution so far, covering like 2.5 million New Yorkers, including Brooklyn boards 6 and 8. So we're in good company. And I think for us to pass it accomplishes several goals. For one, it tells our elected officials that we want them to follow state law. Some folks use like, oh, there's community opposition as an excuse to slow down policy, but when community boards unite to support something, that excuse dissolves. Similarly, we can use this to communicate to DOT which intersections should have priority, because DOT is putting in daylighting anyway. You know, they're trying to do 1,000 a year, if not succeeding. And in this language, we can say that we want it in front of schools, we want it in front of community centers, we want it in front of old folks' homes. So that's the other goal. And finally, in this, we can communicate the need for hardened infrastructure so that in the future, they don't do what they do on 4th Avenue, which just like provides essentially parking spots for police cruisers. If you put like potted plants, if you put you know, granite blocks, if you put bike corrals in these places, then cars physically can't enter them, and that's also in the language of the resolution.
Thank you. Barbara?
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
So I just wanted to find out what's the range of the light, because I've never seen a daylight area. So if people live in apartments and they are on like ground or first or second floors, will they be affected by the light, say if the apartments are on these corners of these intersections?
So it's not actual lights on the corners. The term is just called daylighting. It's really about creating more visibility on at intersections. So there's no actual lights involved.
So what creates the visibility?
The space, the removal of the maybe like one parked car in a corner and greater space.
Okay, thank you.
Nope. Let me give you the microphone. Thank you.
I don't think you can compare New York State to New York City because I drive upstate a lot. I'm in Catskill area. There's plenty of room. It's a whole different ballgame. It's like comparing apples and oranges. And I actually think you have more accidents today because of all the putting the cars together. I was just in Manhattan and I see all these pedestrian plazas, and now the cars have 1 or 2 lanes to go. So of course you're gonna have accidents, and you're gonna have, gridlock, and you're gonna have congestion. I think a lot of the, I don't know who, the powers that be, created a lot of the congestion. They are not thinking about the cars, they're not thinking about business, they're just thinking safety. They're not making it safer.
I would like to move this to a vote. Let's see, we'll do this by a hand vote. If you are in favor of the motion to approve universal daylighting, please indicate so by raising your hand. Board members only. Thank you. You can put your hands down. If you are not in favor of approving daylighting, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, also for your additional comments. Okay, so we'll move on to the agenda items that were in the November meeting. And we did already tackle the dining out proposal. So we have now the Greenwood Cemetery, right, revocable consent. Do you mind doing that one? Then I can pass back. Okay.
Okay, sure. So I don't remember which page this is on, but Greenwood Cemetery is seeking a revocable consent to build a data cable between their current facility and the new Weir Greenhouse facility, which they're turning into an education center. They're seeking to do this in order to transfer their information and data back and forth between both campuses. They need to seek stipulations from the city to get this done. They're hoping to do most of the construction overnight so that they don't disrupt the funerals happening in the daytime. But ultimately, that lies in DOT's hands if the revocable consent is approved. They also plan to cover the trench that they need to dig with a steel plate during the construction period, and they're working with DOT to secure access for the bus stop. Finally, they're also going to follow the rules in terms of pedestrian access, where they have to make safe areas, and they discuss several methods that they're considering, including water barrels, cones, or yodocs. So those are the notes on that. And we've had revocable consents for many other things over the years. This is the first time I can recall, Jeremy may have a different memory, of something under the ground as on top opposed to on top of it. Okay, so that's how this is. So with that, I turn it back over to Julio to open discussion.
Thank you. And for some of our longer term board members, if you remember, Greenwood Cemetery came to us a couple of years ago. I think it was pre-COVID. And there you go, 2016. That's probably one of my first meetings. When they acquired the site across the street, the old florist shop, to convert to their education and welcome center, and CB7 approved that. Is there any discussion on approving the revocable consent for Greenwood Cemetery? Barbara, is that a question for the?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to know, like, how long will this project take? Because Fifth Avenue is like really, really busy, and I'm just concerned how long this will take.
The Greenwood said that the sidewalk work would take place during spring 2025, and the project should be completed by summer 2025.
Want to open their facility then.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So is there any objection to approving the revocable consent for Greenwood Cemetery? Seeing or hearing none, so approved.
We have 2 more. Okay, so this next resolution is reflected. We heard public comment earlier today about neighbors coming to us on 21st Street and 6th Avenue. John, you might jump in at some point, but I just, I think I'm going to work my way backwards. The resolution that we passed was to request that DOT and Councilmember Hanif's office and NYPD work together towards an outcome that will improve the safety and accessibility at 21st Street and 6th Avenue. That's the resolution, and that passed by unanimous consent, and we're bringing that tonight. The context is that, and there's a longer history that we can always call on Jeremy to talk about, but there was some, again, temporary infrastructure that was put in place at 21st and 6th, not the longer term kind of hardened type of infrastructure. And the current infrastructure that's there, the plastic that's down, there's not enough signage, and what's happened, there's basically a lot of chaos at the intersection with this temporary, again, the temporary pieces that have been put down. So cars are not sure where they're going. Cyclists, well, if anyone cycles there, they can probably talk about their own experience, but the outcome is that the neighbors on 21st and 6th are just very worried about someone getting hit and something happening because there's been a lot of close calls. So they came to the community board with a petition. They came to the community board talking about this issue. We are not in the transportation committee. We didn't opine on like, this is the solution and this is the transportation intervention that we should have there. All the resolution states is to say to DOT and Councilmember Hanif's office and NYPD on enforcement, please do something about this before something bad happens, given the number of schools that are there. And we have brought this to DOT before. We've sent them an email, we sent them a letter, they told us they'd follow up. Their recent follow-up was that they would look at it in 2025. So that's why we moved to doing a resolution on this, specifically on this intersection. So, so the resolution, again, just to reiterate, is stating that there's a problem at 21st Street and 6th Avenue, specifically at that intersection, that's raising safety and accessibility concerns. And the request is that DOT, Councilmember Hanif's office, and NYPD work on addressing this issue before the end of 2025, or 2024, sorry, before the end of the year. And that passed by unanimous consent.
Thank you, Katie. Is there any discussion on the resolution seeking a remedy for 21st Street and 6th Avenue? Karen?
I support the resolution, but I'm wondering if it's just a little bit, it leaves a lot of opportunity for them to dawdle and talk a lot and do studies. This is an incorrect configuration for that intersection. It's a mistake. It's wrong in every way. It's like having the traffic light backwards. And if you stand there for 5 seconds, you see it, and they need to fix it. Is there any way we could say, you made a mistake, can you fix it soon?
Yes, the language was, there is a problem at this intersection and you have to take care of it and address it before the end of the year. Before the end of the year, yeah. This year, sorry,
This year.
yes. I
Not
said,
next year,
I
this
corrected
year.
myself, yeah, before the end of the year.
Thank you for that, Karen. Any other discussion? Seeing none, is there any objection to approving the resolution seeking a remedy for 21st Street and 6th Avenue by the end of this year? Seeing or hearing none, the motion is so adopted.
Great, thank you. Last one is on the BQE South redesign proposal. And so I will just do my best to not read through all of these notes. For context, a lot of you participated in in-person meetings, virtual meetings that looked at the BQE redesign, and this goes from north to south. This is a process that started about 2.5 years ago now, and a lot of these meetings were held in 2023. Concurrently, there were also meetings about the redesign and safety and accessibility on 3rd Avenue. So those were happening around the same time. The BQE design recently, in early October, they came out with their final report on what the BQE design proposal should look like. And there are proposals in there specifically for BQE South, for our portion down here in Community Board 7. So I would encourage you to, look through the whole corridor to look at it. What I would just state is the obvious, is that if you look at the proposal for BQE South for improvements, for revisioning, they don't touch the infrastructure. They don't touch the actual BQE. Everything is just underneath the BQE, which is Third Avenue. So it doesn't actually re-envision the BQE in the proposal. We had raised this in the initial design. It came up in the public meetings and discussion and follow-up and messages that in letters that were sent. A lot of those were shared, and we reviewed them in the Transportation Committee. City DOT replied and said they can't touch the state DOT controls the BQE South, and that's why the proposal is just focused on the actual underneath part of the BQE, which is Third Avenue. Okay, so hold that in your mind at the same time that we all worked on the Third Avenue proposal. And again, there were a lot of public meetings, consultations, providing feedback to that. And the community board, the Transportation Committee passed it, and then this community board passed support for design option 3 in February of 2024 for Third Avenue for safety and accessibility. And I can tell you what was in design option 3 and go through that again. But that design option, the next step was that DOT was supposed to come back to us in the spring and show us what design option 3 looked like, a little bit more fleshed out. Again, we chose design option 3 as the safest and most accessible option. They didn't come back in the spring. They delayed. They said they would come back in the summer. They delayed again. They said they'd come back in the fall. They delayed again. And the latest is that they're not giving us any timeline in which they will come back on Third Avenue design option 3, which this board was on the record for, to see what the build out would look like. So now, the BQE South proposal, if you read through what's in that report specifically on the portion that is our district, it's just design option 3. So they basically took what the community board had suggested is, wanting to look to build out for safety and accessibility, and they just put it in their report and said, these are the short-term and medium-term things that we would propose to do for the BQE revisioning. So what we did in our Transportation Committee and discussed this last week is that we we have a resolution basically to support what's in this BQE South proposal, just for the short and medium term proposal, which is what we'd already voted on in February, so that we can send a message back to DOT saying, yes, we support your short and medium term proposals for BQE South, which is specifically on page 58 in this long proposal. Because everything that's in here is what this community board had already voted on in February of last year. So we're sending a message back that this is we're on the record, this is a priority, this is something we've already asked for, they've continued to delay it, and that we're looking for them to incorporate it as they take next steps. And that's the resolution. So, yeah.
Thank you, Katie. And so the resolution is, again, recommitting our support for the Third Avenue short and medium-term redesign options that were presented in the BQE proposal. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Damien?
Yeah, hi. I guess my only question is for this redesign process, I was seeing that there was a section on like giving that there's like street vendors and etc. Is there any like way that DOT laid out, because I was looking at the presentation and it doesn't state that it lays out of the safety hazard? Like given that there's gonna be a section of it like literally like right next to my house where is there like any plan to install like concrete along those places along the section?
So there was a question that had actually come up. I remember Jeremy Kaplan had asked. So this resolution is just endorsing the near and medium term concepts of these streetscape improvements that were in the Third Avenue proposal. And to be clear, it does not affirm our support for any of these other aspects of the third that were in this that are things like these street vendors or the vendor market vendors.
Yeah, it was more of like the concrete if it's going to be protected.
Yes, we didn't, that's not included as part of our resolution language.
And then the second question is, I know this has nothing to do with the resolution, but I have seen that there was an article, I guess, about them stopping the plan. Is there like any word on that? I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but like, for instance, I think it was on Street Blog, the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce is like trying to block the whole project on itself. And like, is there any plan that the board will make a statement on that?
I can answer that. So in the district manager's report last month, I think it was last month at this point, I did mention that we met with DOT because Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, as well as other businesses along Third Avenue, expressed concern that there wasn't enough outreach done by DOT on the proposal. And so that they are engaging or re-engaging some limited outreach efforts to the chamber, to SBIDC, I believe some businesses at Industry City, before they will come back to us on what their plan is. In our conversation, we were very clear what our expectation was and how this board has voted and how we do our engagement. So we are now just waiting for DOT to come back and state what their engagement was and what their next steps are. We even asked if that would be by the end of this year or a specific timeline. They didn't commit to a specific timeline. They did say that they would have additional information by the end of this year. What that information is, I don't know. It could be that they started engagement, that they finished engagement, that they're decided on what's next, but yeah, they didn't commit to a specific timeline.
Then is there any way that we could add to the resolution to ask a letter to send to Department of Transit to come back to us? Like, could that be a possibility to add that to a resolution?
They did commit to coming back to our board when they are ready to, and when after they've participated in the conversation. So they have already stated that they'll do that, but yeah.
And we can include that in the letter when we send it. And I believe DOT said those meetings were early November with Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce and SBDIC, Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Corporation. So this again doubled down on what we had passed. Again, this feeling of we've been waiting and pushing along, and then this new proposal from DOT came out for this BQE redesign, which is why we're using this as an opportunity to keep advancing this conversation. So.
Is there any additional discussion? Okay. Is there any objection to adopting the resolution reconfirming our support for short and medium-term improvements along Third Avenue? Streetscape. Thank you. Seeing or hearing none, so approved.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Katie, and the Transportation Committee. Moving on to Education, Health, and Human Services.
So, I'll start with our first meeting that we have with Star Treatment and Recovery Center with Melissa. Their services, the current services include opioid treatment, mental health services, harm reduction training, and public health outreach. They currently operate 6 locations in Brooklyn and Manhattan, and they provide harm reduction supplies such as click needles, Narcans, and offer education resources to reduce stigma around substance and mental health. We are also exploring health issues in the district, and we also trying to outreach the elected officials in our district. If anyone is interested in our committee, which specifically touches the areas of education, health, and social services. If anyone is interested, please feel free to talk to me after the meeting. And we are also exploring on how to update the website for our committee. I noticed that the website needs a lot of work, and I encourage every single chair and board member to join me and to remodel this website, because I feel like this could be a better tool for the community. On that, I would like to introduce a motion to support the STAR Treatment and Recovery Center plans to merge with South Brooklyn Medical Service. This is located in 685 3rd Avenue. And pretty much the plan is trying to rebrand as a one-stop shop for individuals needing integrated mental health and substance use treatment services. They will expand their outreach with mobile units and enhance harm reductions initiatives such as distribution of Narcans to save life. And they will improve culturally and linguistically relevant services by hiring bilingual counselors to address gaps in care, particularly for a multicultural district like ours. And they will strengthen housing and recovery resources to tackle homelessness and associate challenges that go hand in hand with substance abuse and mental health issues. By doing this, we strategically bring in more services to our districts, such as mental health services and substance use treatment. And by approving this letter of support, we are helping them to secure funding for their plan to integrate and expand services. Sorry. And advocate for additional resources to improve multilingual and culture sensitive care and promote public awareness. And I would like to introduce this to the floor.
Second the motion. Thank you. The Health, Human Services and Education Committee did not have quorum, so Jonathan has introduced a motion, seconded by Rosie. It is for a letter of support to the START Treatment and Recovery Centers with their merger, on their merger with South Brooklyn Medical Administrative Services. Is there any discussion on the motion? And we'll provide an answer.
This is an outpatient facility, treatment place, right?
So the location is already.
The outpatient. In other words, the people won't be staying there overnight. They come and go.
Yeah.
That's correct. Outpatient. Any other, Antoinette?
685 3rd Avenue. This is between 21 and 22 Street in 3rd Avenue, which is literally right in the border of our district.
That facility already provides services, but they will only expand and have bilingual services and actually do outreach. They're using a community or a peer-led model. So they'll actually go out into the park and talk to people and try to see, touch people, and however many touches it takes to help them get treatment.
Nick?
And by the way, I'm Rosie Mota, I'm Vice Chair, and this is Jonathan. He's our chair.
I just had a question. Can you explain the connection between the fact that it needs to be a merger and the expanded services? Like, in other words, how does the fact that they need to merge with another provider expand the services?
Well, the STAR program is just bringing the outreach component to the clinic. The clinic has been established in the community for a long time already. They just bring in the additional services to the community.
They also have a new chief medical officer that has a lot of bigger ideas of expanding harm reduction throughout the city of New York. And the new chief medical officer um, was, used to be part of H&H. So that person is coming from that experience working with the city in the public clinic setting, and they're bringing that into START. So that START is growing, and they've actually gotten funding from the state before, and they actually provide mental health services in Harlem for people ages 5 years and up, and they do telehealth. And they're also a big referral resource, and they're looking to expand their Teen Start program also.
Just to provide a little context, South Brooklyn Methadone Clinic currently operates at that site, and they have not been financially solvent, and we're going to close down. So unless this merger goes through with the START program, we would lose a methadone clinic in the neighborhood. START, just by default at all their clinics, offers a wider variety of services than South Brooklyn, and they assured us that there are no services currently offered that will not continue to be offered. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Nicole? 1 second, just wait for the microphone. Thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate it.
The service provide Mandarin?
Sorry?
Do the services provide
Mandarin.
in Mandarin? That's a good question.
We didn't ask that question specifically, but they assure us that they will have like a bilingual staff providing different languages services.
We can ask that include that in letter of support to provide services for languages serviced in CD7.
Yeah, that was one of her biggest highlights from Miss Melissa, that they're gonna have bilingual peer community workers.
Any additional discussion? Antoinette?
I'm not sure if this came up during discussion, but will the peers be hired from CB7?
That is one of the things we mentioned that they should do, but that also depends on the readiness and of how they're cultivating patients from patient to employee. It takes several steps. You want to add something?
Yeah, we didn't go into like who will be hired for those positions, but they will be relevant to the community and they will understand pretty much the community.
Yeah, because the key idea is to meet someone that has your lived experience. For instance, if you experience dependency on alcohol, you would identify with someone, whether or not they live here, but someone who has that lived experience with alcohol.
Is there any objection to approving the letter of support for START Treatment and Recovery Centers merger? Seeing and hearing none, it is so approved. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. And that's all.
Oh, and I do want to add, as a health committee and education committee, get your flu shot and your COVID vaccines. And also, it's also Men's Health Month, so please go get your checkup. Everyone go get your checkup.
One more thing about the website, if anyone has any interest, please reach out to me because I think we should do something about that.
Thank you. Our next two committees do not have any resolutions or votes, but we'll ask, we'll start with Parks and Environment. Is there anything that you want to add? Diane, oh, there you go. Is there anything you want to add to your report? Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Yes, attend your committee meetings. Thank you so much, Diana. Antoinette, Housing?
Everyone, I'll be quick. We had a really great meeting maybe the end of last month. Basically, really appreciate everyone who came through and for your patience. We're still trying to really get the in-person and hybrid setup, but it was really great. We got a lot of feedback on how we're going to be moving forward and planning additional workshops. So for our last meeting, we we were brainstorming and we're going to work in conjunction with the Public Safety Committee, and we're going to be hosting a fire safety and scams workshop. I did send an email over to Cynthia and Jerry. I'll follow up. And then in January, we're also going to be working on a workshop focusing on AMI and tenant rights. So be on the lookout for that. We're trying to make sure that we're pulling in as many folks in the community as possible. So maybe not having it in this room, but in a larger place so that we can make sure we're doing enough outreach. This is something that was sent to me via email from another board member, so just putting it out there as an FYI. There was a brownfield cleanup program application that was submitted to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. And this is the site, the address is 4001 4th Avenue. So this is a redevelopment site. It's currently on the corner of 4th on 40th and 4th Avenue, and that's the PB gas station. So the current zoning for that site is residential and commercial, and the application is looking to redevelop the site for residential. So just flagging that out there for you all. And then lastly, so at our last meeting was really a brainstorming session on future workshops, but Council Member Alexa Viles also came through and was able to give us, talk a little bit more about where we are with the City of Yes proposal. And we didn't have quorum, but it was just a little bit concerning. And Jeremy, who is a committee member, is gonna just highlight some of the concerns that were raised.
Yeah, so we had a pretty thorough conversation with Alexa Vilas about some of the details, and she said she would get back to us on it. But some of the things that were brought up from the committee was, and we had highlighted it when we voted on it, about the affordability, that we wanted deeper levels of affordability. That was one of our recommendations. But we asked Alexa some questions about that we've seen in the City of Yes proposal when we looked at it more, that under the current, what's the UAP, the Universal Affordability Option, that it looks like there's the ability for developers to actually not build the affordable options on site, and that there's a loophole to allow them to build off site. And then when we asked Alexa, you know, who's going to enforce this, that these affordable units will be built, and how will that be followed up, and how will developers be accountable for building those affordable units? She said she would get back to us and look at, talk with her land use experts from the city council about that. And so there was a lot of murkiness, and we're still waiting. We're trying to follow up and have another conversation with her about this, because I think this is a key element of the proposal of City of Yes, is that we're building, you know, more affordable housing in this universal affordability proposal. But the problem is that it also looks like within the wording of it too, that there are sunset provisions about the affordability, and that possibly the affordable options could expire as well. And we looked at in the middle of the ULURP process, the DCP actually changed some of the wording on the sunsetting provisions. And I asked Alexa about that. And it sounds like basically they only changed that for the highest level density, R10. So it looks like that under that affordability options, like if a developer doesn't use it in a certain amount of time, those affordable units could actually sunset. So that was extremely concerning for us, considering that I think even, you know, a lot of people have mentioned that even as UAP stands, the affordability levels, we had issues with it. We voted on the notion that the AMI levels should be much lower and more affordable. But the idea that there's a lot of loopholes within it, that developers could not even build what is stated. So we sort of expressed to Alexa that it was disappointing that these kind of details were not provided to us by DCP, and that it was unfortunate for us to go through a vote and not really have all of this. And yes, granted, it's like 1,000-page or more document, but these kind of very like I think, monumental things around, will you actually build these affordable units, and that you can find loopholes for not building it is troublesome, to say the least. So Alexa was saying that she was going to try to work on that issue and get back to us. And I think we're planning on trying to have another housing committee meeting to discuss that, and then also discuss as well that there's an alternative kind of proposal called the City of All that the speaker, Adrian Adams, is proposing, that it deals with more affordability issues, deals with funding, public housing, deals with funding, enforcement, HPD, and a number of other things. And so I think it's really important as a board that we follow up on this conversation, considering, we voted, and then now it's being voted on within the city council in a few weeks. December 5th is the vote for City of Yes. And so yeah, we're going to continue to have conversations with our council member to express sort of our concern about the affordability levels and those major questions, and get more information about that.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Add to that, because we didn't have quorum at the last meeting, and finding all of this information, I was just deeply concerning. Would like to propose for the board to issue a letter as soon as possible. Tomorrow, the Land Use Committee for City Council will be voting on City of Yes. And then, as Jeremy mentioned, on December 5th, it'll come to the larger City Council. I think, I understand that this board already voted on the City of Yes proposal, but in light of these new issues that have come out that were never brought to us through all of the presentations that DCP had, this board does not know anything about the City for All proposal that's brought. I think there's just a lot of gaps, and I feel if we can issue a letter, a statement, it can, help to push things along.
What would that letter include?
Again, it would just be issuing our concerns. I would propose for the letter to, in light of these UAP concerns and the fact that many of them can be that they can sunset, and there's no real accountability for developers to build them, to hold off on the vote or to push for a no. I mean, I'm not trying to dictate what the letter should say, but I feel that everyone in this room can, vouch that this is very concerning. And I think it would be in our best interest as a board to come together and have a stance. I don't have, I don't have something prepared. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think we can issue a letter requesting clarification on the UAP, particularly that that those units can sunset, because that's the first time hearing of it. In terms of issuing a no or for them holding off, that would require a motion to reconsider our original vote, which is a little complicated. It's doable, but would require a little more work. Sorry, can you say that again?
I'm sorry, I'm not like an expert on Robert Rules of Order, but I think like this is super concerning. So if I can go through the motion of reproposing that original vote, I would like to do so.
Of us reconsidering our vote to support City of Yes? Okay. 1 second. That is a motion that we can vote on. It has to be introduced by someone who voted in favor of the original motion to support City of Yes, and seconded by someone who voted in favor of it. And it requires a 2/3 majority to reconsider that motion. So I'm not sure if you voted in favor of City of Yes. We don't have the records to confirm that.
I didn't, but if anyone is so inclined that would like to set forth. Right.
No, we voted on it as a single vote. So I would like to, um, I would like to send a letter to DCP and City Council asking for clarification on the UAP, particularly with the sunsetting requirements. And I would like to see if we can get support on us sending that letter. Um,
Yeah, I will maybe also in the letter expressing sort of the lack of, I feel like, engagement or preparation that they had. And I think we saw with other boards that they actually, paid for other land use people to come in to educate them on it. That I think we could express that DCP did not do a good enough job in their proposal, educating us on what the in and outs of the city of Yes was. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's unfortunate when it's such a huge document, and that to me, it seemed like there's a lot of stuff that was glossed over, that it took a lot of reading into the actual proposal to figure out what was going on.
Thank you.
And in that letter, just clarification on City for All, because we haven't received any sort of information on what exactly that entails.
Is there any objection to us sending that letter to DCP and the City Council Land Use Committee? Thank you, Jeremy. I would like to propose a motion to us sending a letter to DCP and the City Council Land Use Committee requesting clarification and regarding our concerns on the UAP and sunsetting requirements, on DCP's lack of information on this, and clarification on the City for All proposal. Seconded by Sam. Thank you. Is there any objection to us sending this letter? Seeing or hearing none? So approved. Thank you. So moving on to our second roll call, and I'm going to do a little stretch.
Okay, I'm only going to call the people who did not respond when we originally called. No problem. So I'm only going to call the people who did not respond when we originally did the roll call. If you do not hear your name, you've already been marked present. Just a reminder, if you're joining us on Zoom, please remember to unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and mute yourself again. Jalea Bailey, Gladys Bruno. I'm sorry. Jalea Bailey, Gladys Bruno, Gabino Morales Escamilla, Diana Gonzalez, Hector Gonzalez, Dan Kaminsky, thank you. Wyco, thank you. Barbara Lee. I see Barbara waving. So I will acknowledge you, Barbara. Marilyn Melman, thank you. Carmen Rivas, Patricia Ruiz. Roll has been called. By the way, Barbara, you do not count towards the quorum.
I understand. Thank you.
Moving on to the chair's report. I just have two items to review. One is we had when I say we, myself, Jeremy, representatives from the EDC had our monthly meeting. I believe Katie was not present at this meeting. It was to, usually at these meetings, they give us some updates on any events that are happening at
Bush Terminal Pier. Did I say that right? Bush Terminal Pier? 59th Street?
No, that's Brooklyn Army Terminal.
Brooklyn Army Terminal. Sorry, Brooklyn Army Terminal Pier 4. EDC did state that they will be working on a public-facing website where they will be posting upcoming events so that the community can be better informed, which is something we asked about. And as board members may remember, last week or 2 weeks ago now at this point, Made in New York had their big announcement. Many of our board members were not able to attend. I asked EDC if they would be open to hosting a tour for community board. They agreed, and hopefully we should be finalizing that very soon. I need to remind myself to do that tomorrow morning. Lastly, CB7 will be having our holiday party December at the end of our monthly board meeting on the 18th at Lorraine. So stay tuned for an official invitation forthcoming. And that is it for my report. Antoinette, sorry.
Just curious if during the monthly meeting with EDC, if they had mentioned anything about the press release that was issued, about the increase, that 90-something million that's
No,
going towards.
that is news to me, and it will be asked at our next meeting.
Okay, and just for context, it's almost $500 million that has gone to the Made in New York campus, to put into context. Second question, has there been any meetings with the council member's office on land use issues in the neighborhood?
No, not to my knowledge, no. Any other questions? Jeremy for the district manager's report.
Good evening, everybody. There are flyers on the table outside announcing what would be our 35th annual holiday gift drive, except we didn't have it in 2020, so it's not 35th annual. So it's our 34th holiday gift drive. We are accepting new toys and clothing for up to 18 years old through the next board meeting. That's December 18th. We are accepting them here. You can bring them to us. If you have enough, I'm happy to drive over to you and pick them up. We will be distributing them through our homeless and migrant shelters, as we have done the previous years. On October 24th, I toured beneath beneath the BQE along 3rd Avenue with what we hope will be our neighborhood support team to talk about cleanliness issues, illegal parking, homelessness issues, storage of materials by contractors. If you've never seen me angry, you should have been at that meeting. CAU was there, the 72nd Precinct was there, Sanitation was there, Department of Homeless Services was there. DOT was not there because they claim there are no issues on 3rd Avenue. Excuse me, at the Borough Service Cabinet meeting last week, that's the meeting of the district managers that's convened by the borough president. The borough president informed us that he is looking to put together a ballot initiative for next year or 2026 to create a central staff for community boards that would centralize certain services such as HR and excuse me. We have, of course, argued for certain things like translation services, interpretation services. There will be a follow-up meeting with the district managers. He's going to be picking our brains on that one. Julio's already mentioned the Made Bush Terminal campus, so I will skip that one. There was a ribbon cutting about 3 weeks ago for the new 100% affordable housing 5th Avenue Committee residential building on 4th Avenue and 63rd Street. I attended that along with Julio. St. Michael's is holding a blood drive on December 1st. There are flyers outside for anybody who might be interested in donating their blood. Liquor licenses, since last meeting, there have been 7. There have been no cannabis licenses since that meeting. Those applications are available in the binders in the office for anybody who wants to look through them. And then finally, the police department stats are on the table outside.
Jeremy. Moving on to old business. Moving on to new business. Come on up.
Hi. First thing, I want to say thank you very much to Community Board 7 for the support letter. We are looking for additional fund for our senior center. We have a new list, so we're working in that one. I just want to say thank you very much for that letter. We're going to have our Thanksgiving Day celebration this coming Friday. We'll start it at 10 o'clock. Everybody's invited. We're going to have food. We're going to have live music, free turkey distribution. These events will be thanks to Alexa Viles, City Council, to Dan Goldman, our congressman, Sanska, Damaris Santiago, and George Cardona, and also to the church in 60th Street. Today we have domino tournament. The seniors really enjoy that activities. So that was thanks to also George Cardona and Damaris on Santiago. We did everything in conjunction. And we have trophy, we have raffle, we raffle turkey. The senior really enjoy. And also we are receiving our new assistant director. She is with me today. Her name is Sujapa. And everybody's invited for that special on day. We also gonna work in the toy drive. So we're receiving toys. We already have a table with toys because seniors, bring toys, and then we donate it to Community Board 7 and other organization in the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grisel. Any other new business? Barbara, is that your hand up for new business?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, you can hear me.
We
Okay.
can hear you.
There's been a really bad problem with mail fraud in this area, particularly at Bush Terminal. And I'm just wondering how can the board approach that?
If you have this is the first I'm hearing of it. If you have specific issues or have seen or heard of specific issues, I would encourage you to email the board office and we can relay those to Congressmember Goldman's office.
Okay, because on my own, I contacted Bush Terminal and I also contacted the main post office, and it's I've had 2 checks stolen, my tax refund, and I was told that this area was one of the main places for mail fraud. So,
Yeah. So yeah, definitely reach out to the board and we can relay those to the Congress member's office.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Oh, and Myra is here as well. Myra, did you want to add anything to that or? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, this is casework. Great. I can pass along my email and then we can just get that straight, expedited to see how we can assist. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Moving on to public comment. This is for any member of the public who wishes to speak on any item they so wish. Just come on up and just ask if you state your name. And you have 3 minutes. Thank you, Jeremy.
Hi, my name is Julia DeWalt. I'm a resident of Sunset Park, a public health professional and a student.
And I'm here today to encourage the community board to support and advocate for City Council to pass Intro 0536, which is in committee and is a bill aimed to reduce waste and increase emergency food supplies by requiring certain food sellers to make available emergency food programs, food that is edible but that would otherwise be discarded to make room for new inventory or various other reasons. Loss and waste occurs when food is discarded or otherwise made unavailable during production, commercial or consumer phases of our food system. In the United States, 40% of food goes uneaten. New York City generates nearly 600,000 tons of food waste from industrial, commercial, and institutional sources each year, and 68% of discarded food is potentially edible. At the same time, an estimated 1.2 million New Yorkers are food insecure, and 20% of New York City residents receive SNAP benefits. So food is being wasted while people go hungry. Data show that even in low-income areas of New York City with 5 existing emergency food pantries, 80% leave their zip codes to access emergency food, highlighting questions about access and availability. In Sunset Park, according to the New York City Food Policy Center, 14.2% of residents are food insecure, and there is an annual meal gap of nearly 4 million meals. The rates of food insecurity and SNAP benefits in this community are comparable to city rates, and the poverty rate in this community is slightly higher. These data show that food insecurity is present in our community and that while food is being wasted, people are looking for it. In addition, there are environmental and financial benefits to reducing food waste. Less waste lessens the environmental impact and reduces cost associated with waste management. So I'm here to promote and ask for support in passing this bill and others like it that the council is considering. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Joe? Ooh. Oh, thank you. And if you could just state your name for the record, please. Even though I just said it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Estrella. I'm a 51-year community resident of Sunset Park. Last Friday, I was given information that there was a van on 50th, 518 in front of the Salvation Army that had several propane tanks inside the van. This is the second such van that had a report to 311 and the fire department had to come out to. I don't know if anybody was aware. On top of that, we had a fire in front of George's restaurant, and I think Sunday, that was Saturday. I think Sunday, we had a DUI accident.
Hi, please.
We had a DUI accident, I think on 50th and 5th Avenue. We had a car crash into another car on 5th Avenue. I bring this up to say this. I called our city council's office twice on both occasions. We had another van maybe about a month prior to that I had to call in as well in front of Jones Jewelry Shop that had about 8 tanks of gasoline inside and about 4 or 5 propane tanks as well. I called our city councilwoman and I let them know, their office know, that we're waiting for a tragedy to happen on 5th Avenue. The 58th and 18th, 518 50th, for those who know, we have the school on the corner and it's right in front of a bus stop. This happened about 2:18 in the afternoon. Obviously, when kids are being let out, there's actually kids walking up and down the avenue. I think ladder company 228 came out. The chief came out as well. They had to call the fire marshals in there as well. We have several vans parked on 5th Avenue with out-of-state plates, right? We have Wisconsin plates, Maryland plates. To be honest with you, if this person might have been of another ethnic group, he had basically a bomb on the avenue waiting for something to happen. I have spoken to the city councilwoman's office about the problems that we're having with food trucks. Obviously, they're there from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, so they need to be able to refuel their trucks with propane tanks. They're storing them and keeping them in these vans that they keep off corners I'm sure their intent is just to refuel their vehicles, but they're actually putting everybody here and everybody in this neighborhood in danger. As we saw with a car that lit on fire, or a car that could hit a van like that, and the devastation that will happen in our neighborhood will be devastating. I spoke to the office. They seemed to be very nonchalant about it. They didn't even come up when I told them that this was occurring on both occasions to come and see what was going on. I don't know if the transportation department of the community board could do something about it, but there's something has to be done with these food trucks that are on Fifth Avenue all day and putting us at risk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. We have another public comment joining virtually.
Maria Roca, you could unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. This is Maria Roca, President Sunset Park. I just want to underscore a situation in the park in particular because of the trees and any of our parks for that matter. It is no news to anyone that we are in a drought situation in spite of the expected rain over the weekend, which will be helpful, but certainly not resolve the problem. We have had over time, and it's been discussed at CB7 meetings and in public comment, an uptick in smoking in the park, often right on the trees. And it is, the numbers are growing. And when you mention to people that whether it's they're smoking inside the playground itself, that you shouldn't smoke near children, or that it's illegal to smoke inside the park, the smokers become rather belligerent and have on occasion even physically responded towards the person asking them to put up off the cigarettes. So the drought, the increased danger of a fire, our trees are very old. We have overwhelmingly 100+ year trees. And if anyone, and you as an individual, please call 311 if that's what you can do. If you see if an imminent situation, do not hesitate to call 911 and get it on record, the smoking and the fact that we are putting our beautiful parks in danger, and we're putting ourselves in danger. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. The MTA adage, see something, say something, always works. So please don't keep it to yourself. Any other public comment? Seeing none, with that, the November meeting is adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Or happy Festivus.
Joe, could I speak to you?
Oh, I had to too. Yes. So
If you could send me an email,
yeah,
and she lives right there as well, so I'm sure it's an issue.
Send,
Send it to me. Forward it to us. If you wouldn't mind, if you just knock on the door across, Tasha's there, just ask her for my card.
Also, we don't get informed delivery, at least from my post office, but I've heard other people in Sunset Park do.
I get informed delivery.
Yeah, I don't. I never have, and I always get ineligible. And
Where do you live again? You live on 45th Street, don't you?
no, I live on 61st between 2nd and 3rd.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. My friend lives on that block.
Yeah.
38 to 1.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, I will follow up on that.
Wait,
Also,
is your post office
is
terminal
the
the one
1
on
8th
8th
Avenue? Yes.